I asked myself, much in the same way that Bill Gates asked himself when he finished with Microsoft, he said, what is the biggest problem in the world that I can impact? And Bill Gates obviously decided world health was something that he was going to attack. So I asked myself, what's the biggest problem in software development, in IT shops, that I can help to solve? And I said, well, I do a lot of .NET architecture, but that's not usually the problem. The problem, in my opinion, for failed projects, for tasks that don't seem to get done, for end-of-the-year disappointment, shall we say, and post-mortem discussions, even when the problem appeared to be technical, it could almost always be traced back to some failure in human communication. And after 20-plus years of seeing this year in and year out and day out, I thought, well, I've done a lot of research for this for my own consulting practice and my own life. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have done this professionally. And I have CTO colleagues and manager colleagues and senior developer colleagues and architect colleagues. And I noticed a trend. And so I'm going to call this problem the social ceiling. Like the glass ceiling, it's something that sooner or later, if we keep doing things the way we do them, we hit up against it. How do we break through the social ceiling? Well, the answer is communication. In order to solve this problem, we have to sort of drill down into and see what are the areas of communication that are relevant to our job in IT. And so we first have to ask ourselves, what is communication in our job? Well, communication, is it being able to convey to someone information X? Is it them being able to convey to us information Y? Well, that's kind of just the first step. If that's all that happens, does that mean that you both are still going to be able to do your jobs? Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, it's multi-layered. And what communication really means is that you have interacted with this person in such a way that you are aligned enough, you're both aligned enough with each other that you can both get your jobs done. That's communication. That's successful communication. And in order to do that, we have to start digging deeper into looking at, well, what is your job and how does it interrelate with their job? So what's work? You know, what is our job? Well, you need one. Most of us need one. And we apply for one and we get something called a job description, and it looks like it lines up with our skill set and it has responsibilities on it, and we go into the interview, and if we're lucky, we get a job. And then we go into the job, and of course we go into the job and we find out that what they gave us when we first applied was nothing like what we're going to find once we get into the situation. But still, that piece of paper had on it responsibilities. And it's those responsibilities, or at least the responsibilities that we wind up with once we get into the job, that bind us to this company. So we're bound to our work through the responsibilities. And here we start to get into what the social contract is. So the responsibilities bind us to our work. And then people are bound to one another through dependencies. And I'm going to get into that more in a minute. But let me get back to the responsibilities. And so for some of us, responsibilities might be maintaining servers. For some of us, responsibilities might be supporting users. For some of us, responsibilities might be developing software. They might be having people report to us. We're responsible for those people. Here we start to get into the team analogy. And your group of responsibilities, our group of responsibilities, now it's always in flux, but it defines our role within an organization. And so we're a player on a team, and our role defines our identity there, our corporate identity. as we carry out our everyday life, the roles, it starts off just as a series of tasks, but then this series of tasks results in how people relate to you and how people interact with you socially. And so you start getting away from just plain old jobs, just plain old tasks, and you start getting into what is your identity as a human being and how are people relating to you and thinking of you. And status plays into this, and your ability to influence plays into this. But one thing is certain, is that roles are never clear-cut at organizations. There are some that are more regimented than others, but most organizations, any given role is evolving all the time. Roles are getting new responsibilities, and then responsibilities are going away. And then even when you take a snapshot of a particular point in time, people do not agree on what an individual's responsibilities are. So we're bound to our work through roles and responsibilities. In order to get our work done, we need other people. And those other people need to provide us, we need them to provide us with certain information, and we need to be able to provide them with certain information. And this is at the heart of the dependency. So dependencies are the unclosed loop, the tension, the unresolved chord in the workplace. And how do we resolve them? Communication.